Dr. Greg, thank you very much. And on the other hand, we have Dr. Manjunath, who has been doing immersion in the sciences of Ayush via research for the last 2 decades.
Yes.
So we have this advantage of the two of you in the same frame.
That's wonderful.
And you're framed. So here you go. You're the right frame.
So do you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think if I was to try to deliver a message to the general public, especially the young people, is that it really would pay for them to develop self-care very early. And my simple equation, if you will, it's really a fraction, is to think about the numerator as being stress. And the kind of stress that's hard for you to manage, whether you're juggling too many things, or people have been angry with you, or you're failing your tests, or your parents are getting divorced, that kind of stress. And it's multiplied really by, as I started to mention, I didn't have time to go into it, by adverse childhood experiences. So if you're someone who's trying to live your life as a young adult, adolescent, and you have been abused as a child, that really sets you behind the 8 ball, as we say. And then any other stress is a real second hit to your system, the system I was trying to discuss biologically. So that numerator is stress, overwhelming or chronic, times your adverse childhood experiences. But then the good news is that we have a denominator. The denominator is what people have started to call resilience. And this is where yoga comes in for young people. And in terms of nutrition and botanicals and so on, Dr. Manjunath is doing the research on that. So that may very well be an important part of resilience in the future. But the way we look at resilience at our institute, we took this enormous body of knowledge that the government paid for. We had all of those wounded warriors, the invisible wounds of Iraq and Afghanistan. And the government wanted to understand, how come some people get PTSD and other people seem to be less vulnerable? And they poured millions and millions of dollars. So we said, this is an opportunity. Let's take what we've learned and try to put together a composite program that hits at these major dimensions of human resilience that we've learned about through the war experience. And those major areas, as we see it right now, it's important to learn a way to turn down that stress level, to actually, in my terms, to deal with kind of reducing the amygdala tone. And there, our philosophy is, yes, you can learn yoga, meditation, you can learn Tai Chi, you can learn simple single point focus breathing, you can learn mindfulness-based stress reduction. These, as Swami Vivekananda said, many paths lead to thee. And so our philosophy is, in our program, which is the Stress Management Resilience Training Program, the SMART program, we say to people, we're going to introduce you to a variety of ways for you to reduce that numerator. And the key thing is, you choose something that you feel gives you the best chance of integrating it into your life. It's worthless if you do it a few times and then drop it. You have to make it like brushing your teeth. And so we want to give them the freedom to choose something that fits well into their life. And so that's one component. Another component, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, is the attachment piece. And everyone this morning was using the word connection. Yoga means, I think, right? Connection. And so social support is extraordinarily important for all of us. The quest for community, I'm reading this book by a famous American sociologist, Robert Nisbet, called the quest for community. It never leaves us. It's always there. And so social support, we try to enhance it through our group program. So we have people in groups and we try to help them understand and sort of plot out all the different important relationships and why they succeed or why they fail. Social support. And also pro-social behavior. So altruism. You get back much more than you put in when you're altruistic. So we try to teach that. And then it's cognitive skills, because some of us, we create our own stress because we're negative thinkers. We feel like we're rejected, or there are bad things that are happening and it's our fault. Our boss looks at us crooked and we say, oh, what did I do? I'm such a bad person. He doesn't like me. Meanwhile, he may, something terrible might have happened in his life. So we do cognitive skills training as well. And then there's positive psychology, optimism.
Yes, that's taking up. It's a big word, the positive psychology. Yes.
Yes. So optimism, purpose, meaning, forgiveness, gratitude journals, these kind of things we're increasingly finding extraordinary, especially for heart disease. People seem to need a positive belief that life is worth living, that they have a purpose and meaning, that kind of thing. So positive psychology. And then also some people, behavioral activation and motivational type of interviewing. And then we haven't done this yet, but I want to add something called acceptance and commitment therapy, which adds an element of what people value and creates a kind of matrix that teaches them what they're doing now habitually that actually leads to them avoiding what they value and what they can do to approach what they value. So we're in the process of adding that. But then there are the classic things like sleep hygiene, nutrition, and that's why I showed that slide about NF-kappa B. So if you eat the wrong foods and you're stressed, boy, that receptor,
fire.
Oh gosh, yeah. So it shouldn't surprise us that the obesity and hypertension and all this stuff that goes together. So sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And one of the slides I didn't get a chance to talk about was yoga is just as good as aerobic exercise for cardiac disease. So there again, people have a choice. The good thing about yoga is that it combines a lot of these. The other one is spiritual attachment, spiritual connectedness. Because people, and this of course, this is interwoven in everything else, which is what yoga teaches, right? It's interwoven in everything else. So if you part of what you're driven to is wanting to be attached to something greater than yourself, which is really a very basic definition.
This just triggers me to ask you, Dr. Greg, something which usually it is felt that loneliness comes with age.
Yes.
What we are finding, and if you read the lead article that came in The Guardian, a very famous, the biggest disease of the century coming will be loneliness.
Right.
And it is not just about empty nests, but it is also about people who are very young. They could be living with another partner, but they're very lonely in themselves. Yeah. So in that terms, the stress buildups are happening at a very early stage, coming from a new form of manifestation of lifestyle, which is getting lonelier.
Yes, no, that's true. And that's why and tomorrow I decided, I don't know how people will react, but I decided to focus on evolution, because it's very important for us to understand that our organism is based on this natural selection principle, and the organism is going to be facing challenges that it was never really meant to face. As I said, this is actually called the smoke alarm principle, where your acute stress response and your acute immune response go off like a smoke alarm. You don't have a fire, but a little bit of smoke, you got an alarm. And it's designed to be that way because it doesn't want to make a mistake, because a mistake's so costly, and it may cost you the ability to reproduce. So for young people, that's fine, because you can tolerate a lot of false alarms, and you can tolerate a lot of oxidative stress, loss of energy, because you just have to kind of live into your 20s and 30s But for us now, living into our 80s and 90s, that's going to be a problem because all of the ravages of chronic illness and the cost that you have to pay for this evolutionarily designed system are enormous.
Right.
So the question becomes, how do you marginalize that ancient system and its downside? And that's where when I think about every society, and your society was the first, but every society tries to find a behavioral way, a belief system that helps it to manage this weakness in our biology. So, I mean, Confucianism and Tai Chi and that kind of thing was the East. South Asia, you had yoga and so on. In Christianity, the cloud of unknowing and meditation. And I'll talk about what I think is going on from the point of view of the neurobiology and why these cultures discovered these things tomorrow. I find it interesting, although it's very speculative and it's just a very a small hypothesis. But anyway, that is the attempt by the society to find ways to deal with this very, very ancient biological problem.
Let me, at this point in time, of looking at the emphasis coming from the ancient sciences and how they collaborate and they get connected.
Yes.
Let me ask Dr. Manjunath, who heads the amazing research that SVIASA is producing. Dr. Manjunath, you have heard what Dr. Greg has been talking. So would you like to add the dimension from the ancient sciences point of view?
Well, it's amazing. When I look at the different frames with which you brought in a wonderful story, it fits in very well with our ancient scriptural frame.
Yes.
Because basically, see, we spoke a lot about the basic reason because of which we are all getting into these so-called issues. In much simpler way, it is said in one of the ancient texts, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, that there are 5 stress-producing factors. So if you can take care of these 5 stress-producing factors, you have taken care of everything. Okay. Those are called kleshas. This is, in simple said, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. It was wonderful to hear you talking about that whole system of stress and the role of amygdala to anterior cingulate to dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and how all these things are connected.
Yes.
And I was always trying to connect these two thoughts to say that, okay, I mean, whatever has been said as stress-producing factors, the avidya, asmita, avidya is an ignorance part of it. Most of the time for us, to have any issue initiated, it's our ignorance which contributes to it. If I am knowledgeable, probably I will have an answer to any stress-producing initiation. Asmita is the very well-known enemy, ego. Okay, so the ego component which fits in every frame of our life. If we can actually have little balance between these two, avidya and asmita, probably we will solve a lot of the issues.
Yes.
Whereas the next 3 are all to do with the limbic cortex. So we have raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. Raga is to do with your desire and attachment. Dvesha is when your desire is not fulfilled, you start getting rejected and you start hating, you start developing anger in you. And the last one is, of course, abhinivesha. Classically said that it is the fear of death. But for the present day, what it implies is fear of change. We are all so bound with the fear of change. So if these 5 principles are taken care, and if we can connect with the neurobiology of stress, then probably answering them becomes much easier for us. The second part, what you mentioned, wonderful, is about the whole concept with which the younger generation are really getting affected with the components taken from what exactly we are facing in a day-to-day life, our education system, and number 3, the social support. Okay, so for this, it's always said in ancient scriptures that these are all integral part of your being. There's a new concept which you are aware of, the perseverative cognition.
Yes.
Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, the concept of perseverative cognition has been very well explained. It goes by saying that, see, the repeated thinking is the source of any issue, whether positive or negative. It can make you a wonderful individual to grow on, or it will kill you by setting in negative thoughts. So it goes as a nice shloka. Very quickly I summarize. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bijayate krodhot bhavati sammoha sammoha smruti vibramah smruti bramshat buddhinashat pranashyate. It says
From the Bhagavad.
Straight. And it's straight bullseye on stress.
Oh, that's amazing.
and it says very clearly that it's a sequential activity. There is nothing that there is something very serious issue, lighter issue. It has to go through in this sequence. Repeatedly you start thinking about an issue, then you start developing an attachment with it.
Yes.
So as simple as this, I am going. This is a beautiful place here. So if I start thinking about Himalayas, I get an attachment with Himalayas.
Right.
Then the next thought comes that I have to come for a trek in Himalayas.
Right,
So
right.
imagine a simple trek is well and good. I start dreaming about climbing Mount Kailash.
Yes.
Okay, so that's still beautiful.
Right.
I want to climb Mount Everest. Okay, so what happens basically is the sequential progress. If it is achieved, it gives me an upliftment. If I cannot achieve it, it sets in a sort of an anger in me. Okay, that why I am not able to achieve this. And then starts the story. So that anger leads to sequence of events.
Right.
So the karma resulting into krodha. So then what happens is the complete, the true essence of yourself, which regulates your discrimination, gets lost. And then as an individual, what differentiates you from other creatures, you lose that. That is the true self. So it need not be a huge event of sequential events for us to get sick into a chronic condition like cancer. It happens to us in very small bits and pieces on day-to-day activity. So we go through this, we make an arrangement, we make an adjustment, we come back, we say that yes, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't do it, I will do it better next.
Yeah.
So this training happens through yoga. The yoga trains you to remain in a state of balance. Yet another beautiful shloka of Bhagavad Gita. So it says that you have to do all these activities in being in the state of yoga. So that is yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya asidya asidyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga muchyate. It says that you have to handle your activities being in the state of balance. Then what happens? We don't take anything to its extreme.
Yes.
I mean, whether it is an achievement, it won't boost my ego.
Right.
Whether it is something, a failure, which cracks me down to depression. So this happens to us on a daily basis.
Yes.
But the process of yoga, as you have beautifully narrated there, talking about the neurobiology part of it.
Yeah, no,
So that's where institutions like where you have come, Benson Henry, Mind Body Medicine Institute, coming from Harvard, where they have set standards for evidence-based understanding of these ancient sciences. And a collaborative effort is what can really unravel and present to the world, which can make the whole next generation world, bring it into a wonderful social order.
Thank you very
Very
much.
kind of him. Dr. Greg, if you look at the combination of, the Benson Henry, these are organizations which are unquestioned. They have reached
Oh,
a
no.
level. Okay.
Yes.
On the other hand, institutions in our country, even if it's All India Institute of Medical Science, where we are, or is it for the matter SVIASA, there is a sense of only internal recognition for whatever be. It could be lack of our own projection or whatever. But I think one thing I'm taking from here, even from this interview, there's a large word being discussed about integrative medicine, integrate things. I think if scientists integrate on the singularity of the problem, which my youth and my country or the world is suffering from, for example, stress. Well, you said to, listen, I think one point agenda is that I'm going to increase the human resilience. Okay, and he's talking about a very finite 5 kleshas.
Yes.
Suppose it was to be oversimplified and say, okay, here is one, here is definition of the thing. If I can take here, I've got a solution going out there, which is what at Ekprana Foundation we are interested to. Is what do I take from you and actually start solving the problem in the marketplace.
Yes.
So not only I would like to leave this wonderful interview, which is really blessed, in this holy land of Rishikesh, that here are 2 people in the frame who represent well the sciences from where they come from. We would leave you with a request, the integration of the scientists and their brains and their minds to come together, get connected, and look at the problem to be singular, coming from different parts, as you said, about Swami Vivekananda. But I think you will agree, Dr. Greg, that somewhere the stress lies as the base denominator for everything that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And I think if scientists like such as yourself, Dr. Greg and Dr. Manjunath and others who are here, and then come together, I think in the next time we meet, we say we had worked last 1 year together.
Yeah.
This is what we got for your country as a gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Thank you very much. It's very, very nice.
Nice to meet you.
And we truly congratulate you, because of course we can do a lot of work together, but somebody has to reach it to the world.
Right,
And you are doing that job. Many congratulations.
You're the enzyme.
Sure. We all recognize our strengths and weaknesses.